Let me introduce our next panel by telling you this. Ever since, wow, it feels like ever since, Puerto Rico had went from 4 point something million people down to our 2 point something today. And if any of you were here after Hurricane Maria, you saw that accelerate. And the people who are leaving were often people with degrees, education, with businesses. It happened to me. After Hurricane Maria, I left Puerto Rico for a year because my business was like dead in the water, but I came back. And now you see more and more people coming back. So there's this concerted effort to bring back the talent of Puerto Rico. So let me introduce our three speakers. Franco Mondo has 15 years. He leads a business development at BMA, a Puerto Rican-based company known as the largest multi-Latin staffing and outsourcing company in the region. And they're in 23 countries across the Americas, Caribbean, and Europe. Tony Navarro is an established tech leader with a strong expertise in launching and investing in distributive business models. He joined Red Ventures in 2022, and he leads a team of over 150 people focused on digital business across technology, finance, consumer, and travel. Isabel Ruyan, who I've known for a long time, actually since she founded Comprometidos, which was a millennial organization. At 24, she decided millennials needed to get highly involved in rethinking Puerto Rico and how did you bring their talents. And they created an organization that has been able to distribute over $3 million since the devastation of Hurricane Irma and Maria. And they pulled together the potential of young people in Puerto Rico to solve Puerto Rico's problem. With that, let me put up the video up so that you understand a little bit more about Franco Mondo's business. And then I'm going to invite them up and we will start. Right after that, I'm going to invite you guys to actually get out in the room. We'll set up for lunch. We'll have lunch, right? But with that, let's understand a little bit about Franco's business.
El trabajo es el corazón que mueve toda economía. Es el sostén de la empresa, del hogar, los gobiernos y de la vida misma. Hoy, el mundo del trabajo entra en un ciclo histórico. Se nutre de transformaciones y nuevos retos. En BMI Group, durante más de 25 años de historia, hemos utilizado nuestro conocimiento en el mundo del trabajo para hacer la diferencia en la vida de cada uno de nuestros clientes y empleados. Analizando, anticipando, entrenando, innovando, adaptándonos. Navegar este nuevo mundo laboral requiere una visión que anticipe las necesidades y oportunidades del futuro. Nuestro norte, ser una fuerza global que impulse las aspiraciones de las generaciones futuras. Porque las grandes transformaciones se trabajan hoy. Para nuestros clientes y empleados. Para la sociedad. Para todos. Somos BMA Group, a global workforce.
And with that, our panel. Round of applause for our panel, please.
Good afternoon, all. Can you hear me? Thank you so much for being here today. I have a great challenge. We are what's standing between now and lunch, but we also have a great advantage, and those are panelists. I'm going to do a very brief introduction, but I'm going to let them talk a little bit about the organizations and themselves. I just want to say, Isabel Ruyan is here because she is the co-founder and executive director of Comprometidos, but also because Comprometidos believes that Puerto Ricans can build a global model of community-driven success. And that's why she's here. Now, Tony Navarro, he's our executive vice president at Red Ventures and founder and former CEO, correct, of Nave Money. A Red Venture could hire anywhere, but they hire in Puerto Rico. And they're one of the most attractive employers right now in the island. And that's why he's here. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. and we'll go from there. Next, Isabel, you can tell us a little bit about
Yes,
Comprometidos.
gracias Franco, gracias Ricky, and everyone from the Icon Group for organizing this. My name is Isabel Ruyan, and as Franco said, I'm co-founder and executive director of Comprometidos. We founded this organization, a group of friends and I, in 2012 because we realized that we couldn't keep pretending that the government alone was going to solve all of our problems. And originally, we started as a movement. We were very young and naive, and we wanted to get people involved in helping the island. So when we launched in New York, Miami, DC, and San Juan. So from the get-go, we realized that while many people were lamenting that Puerto Ricans were leaving the island, we saw that there was a silver lining in that we have 5.8 million Puerto Ricans that were outside the island with knowledge, connections, and expertise, that if we connected with them, we could help move the economy forward. And so at that moment, we created a network. It was called Puerto Rico Global. We did multi-city roadshows. We connected mentors to the local startup ecosystem. We made business connections between Puerto Ricans and Puerto Rican allies. We brought in speakers to local conferences. And one of the things that happened organically was that we had a lot of friends that had studied abroad or that had left the island to work, but they were wanting to come back. They wanted to come back and they didn't know where to look for job opportunities. So one of the things that we did at that moment was to connect talent to job opportunities in the island. Now, the organization really, the power of that network was demonstrated in 2017. When the Hurricane Irma and Maria hit the island, we realized that we had always used the network for their contacts and for their time and expertise, but we had never asked them for money. We wanted to make sure, if the hurricane came, that we would be able to go out and help those in need. So we launched a crowdfunding campaign, and we ended up raising more than $3 million. And at that time, we had a huge responsibility. And so we changed the model of the organization into what we are now, which is a grant-making organization that has two main programs, the Collaborative Impact Grants and El Comeback, which I'm going to talk about. El Comeback. It's on purpose Spanglish. And the idea at that moment, we realized that we wanted to make sure that the help reached all parts of the island, but many times the organizations that are mostly well-known are in the metropolitan area. So to bridge that gap, we decided to create a model where we give out funding to organizations, but we also give technical support and mentorship for those that need it. So we've been acting kind of like an incubator for grassroots organizations around the island, mostly working on economic development projects and education. I mean, everything at the end of the day is economic development. You need education for economic development. And our mission is to create a stable, productive, and self-sufficient Puerto Rico. Now, 2 years ago, the team and co-founders, we were thinking, we love working with communities. We love working with the vulnerable population, but economic development is needed, and we want to go back to our roots of connecting with those outside the island. And we started listening from the private sector that a lot of companies were growing. We had very successful tech companies during the past 5 years that have been kept on growing that needed talent. An example of that, Womanwear, which Dana works at Womanwear, just had a very successful exit. So we listened to them and they told us, guys, it would be great if you did what you did before. We need talent. So this time we decided to launch El Comeback with the purpose of retaining talent to the island, but also bringing talent back. And we're doing it basically through a campaign and a database. The campaign was very important because a lot of people left the island in 2006 when the economic recession started in Puerto Rico, which was before that in the States. Or left the island after the hurricanes, and they still think Puerto Rico, is a mess, there are no opportunities. And the reality is that we have so many job opportunities and so much need for talent. So one of the main things we're doing with El Comeback is changing the narrative. And then the other thing is we've created a database where people register, and what we've done is connect talent with companies. One of the companies we collaborate with is Red Ventures, which is a very attractive employer. And recently we were able to connect Fianella Arbailo, which studied at the University of Puerto Rico. She was actually an example of a talent retention, who is now in Red Ventures. So I'm going to pass it now to Tony so he can talk more about Red Ventures.
Perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tony Navarro. I myself am from Colombia, South America, though married to a very proud Puerto Rican wife, and I have 2 beautiful Puerto Rican babies. So happy to call San Juan our home, and we've been here for the past 3 years now. Before talking about Red Ventures Puerto Rico, let me zoom out a little bit and talk about Red Ventures. Then we can double click and zoom into Red Ventures Puerto Rico itself. So Red Ventures is a privately held company. It's backed by Silver Lake and General Atlantic. Was founded in the year 2000 by Rick Elias, who is a Puerto Rican native. And the company has since grown to be one of the top 10 providers of traffic on the internet. We talked about Web 3.0. We are a Web 2.0 company, but we are amongst the 10 most visited networks of sites on the internet. And we have properties across every vertical you can think of. On travel, we have Lonely Planet. In the Points Guy, in consumer electronics, we have CNET. In healthcare, we have Healthline and a big AV with United Healthcare. So at any one of the verticals across industries you can think of, we have a presence there. And the story behind Red Ventures Puerto Rico really began after Hurricane Maria. Rick Elias comes to Puerto Rico along with many other people to help the rebuilding. But what he realizes is that Puerto Rico doesn't need additional capital at the moment. What Puerto Rico really needs is capability building, really investing in human talent and creating a platform that can both help people return to Puerto Rico, but at the same time train talent to contribute to the future of Puerto Rico and help Puerto Rico digitize. So what happened in 2018, we found 40 young professionals across both the diaspora and also in Puerto Rico, all of them Puerto Rican. They went to Charlotte for 2 years where they were trained in digital marketing, and then they came back to Puerto Rico in 2020. So we opened our office in Santurce in 2020. The office is now 160 people strong. And we've been launching several different businesses, including Platea, which is like an Axios local media platform. We're in the process of investing and launching a digital bank in Puerto Rico. And many of our colleagues here in San Juan are powering some of the biggest brands in the world directly from Santurce, which is fantastic. And that's the story. With the amazing part of it is it began with Hurricane Maria. Now we just had Hurricane Fiona, obviously not the same magnitude, but events of magnitude and of scale. And the difference we can make, what was a dream, an idea that frankly sounded a little bit offbeat, very risky 5 years ago in 2018, today is a reality. And that story of what we can do if we put our mind to it with intention and discipline and grit. Today, Red Ventures Puerto Rico is well on its way. We're at the top of the first, and we have a long way ahead of us to do other many great things in Puerto Rico.
Tony, that's great. And it's amazing the things that Red Ventures has done in Puerto Rico. I want to learn a little bit more about that. Comprometidos, Isabel, sounds amazing. I know it is. I've seen it. I'd love to look at that talent pool. I'm sure we have some use for it. But meanwhile, when we talk about Puerto Rico and we talk about the brain drain, today, throughout all day, we listened to the governor said, we have the opportunities. They're here. We listened to my friend Jacobo said, actually, Jacobo, I'm going to quote you, says, the momentum has changed for the positive. So the talent brain drain, it stopped. It stopped a long time ago. It's already turned around, and companies like Red Ventures are working on it. And I want to learn what they're doing about it. I mean, we know that Puerto Ricans, if you look at the data, our literacy rate is 94%. 28% of Puerto Ricans have college degrees. That compares to the most educated countries in the world. We've lost 10% of our population, but we can't specify that they took the college degrees away. Some of them, when we look at the ones that left, 25% had college degrees. The ones in Puerto Rico have 28. So we can't really go in that direction and say they've taken all the brains. Some of them are here. Many of them have come back. Many of them are available. I know you're getting most of them at Red Ventures. I'd like to understand first what makes Puerto Rico attractive for recruiting, and what are you doing to attract and retain that talent?
Yeah, definitely. So let me take a step back here and talk about our objectives in being in Puerto Rico. Really, there are 3 key areas. First, we want to create a platform, specifically because we recognize that depopulation and the brain drain are an existential issue for Puerto Rico, for its future. We have a graying society. And if we don't engage and retrain and really participate in the knowledge economy and the digital economy of tomorrow, Puerto Rico is going to be left behind. That's a significant problem. So the idea behind our VPR, Red Ventures Puerto Rico, is creating a platform that enables people to come back to Puerto Rico in a way that they don't have to compromise. And I'm gonna hit on that shortly. Our second objective is really to be an example. Why can we demonstrate that this is possible? Can we inspire other companies, digital companies, in an island that is plagued by poor connectivity, often sometimes, and a little bit of trouble with their power grid? And the answer is yes, it can be done, right? So that's the answer to that. And then last, we're here to launch disruption, help digitize Puerto Rico, help take it to the next level. So when we look to find talent, there's really an equation across three different levels. The first one is what I would call hardware, which is more around compensation. It's more the tactical and the package that you can offer people. When people come to Puerto Rico, they shouldn't have to compromise on their livelihood. And when we talk about Puerto Rico being cheaper, that's a fallacy. That's not a real thing. Puerto Rico certainly is in Manhattan, but it's certainly not the cheapest economy either. And people, when they move, should not have to take a 30% pay cut. And by the way, the world has changed significantly. Pre-COVID, sure, maybe there was a little bit of a difference in terms of geography, but post-COVID, people can get on a $500 flight, $300 flight, and get a 30% raise. If we're looking at talent in that way, then certainly there's going to be a brain drain, and we need to be crafting jobs, creating packages, creating platforms that are competitive for the local talent. So the second point related to that, and let's get into the software side of the equation, is more around creating a culture. There's a huge opportunity here in Puerto Rico to create more dynamic culture. It's still a very arcane wave, sometimes of top-down, very heavy top-down bureaucratic environments. And if we are able to create more engaging, dynamic company cultures, these aren't words we paint on a wall, but it's actually values that we live and that enable people and enable the employee to grow along with the company, to feel part of the decision-making, to be participative instead of it being so prescriptive. There's a huge opportunity in creating really, really healthy, engaging cultures that at Red Ventures is certainly one of the things we try to embody. And the last part here is all about competencies, capabilities, and career path. If people view their job as simply a job, it's going to be a problem. We need people to view their role as a career path. And to get to that level, we need to make sure that people have the right level of training, that they have the right level of apprenticeship, that they have the right level of upskilling so they can continue their growth down the path over the years to come. We don't want Puerto Rico to become the back office of any company. We want people to engage Puerto Rico at the same level, to give people roles that are meaningful, that they can prosper and they can grow into their roles down the road.
Tony, so Tony says, you tell us, no compromise. To be attractive, to be such an attractive employer, there should be no compromise, especially compensation. After COVID, my clients would say, hire them anywhere, as long as they can do it. And that kind of worked because technically you could. But when you move on to the other things that make your company so attractive, we talk about, okay, compensation, that's been leveled out. Because you could get it anywhere. You can get on a $300 flight and get a 30% increase. Culture is really important. And I would like you to expand a little bit further. We'll talk later about how does your culture develop and what makes your culture attractive. You also mentioned development, and that's going to be really important. I see it, and Isabel, I'm going to jump to you, Sue, so you can tell us what the Comprometidos talent pool is looking for. But for us, really important, development is something that we see all the time. We see talent saying, okay, great, you're going to give me a great job, you're going to give me opportunity, you're going to give me a great salary. But what are you going to teach me? What kind of projects am I going to be involved? How can I grow? That's what I see. I think that's what you're doing at Red Ventures. Isabel, the talent pool, the diaspora de comprometidos, what are they asking for?
Definitely similar to what Tony said. I mean, people are looking for good compensation and benefit packages. They're looking for culture, feeling valued, and, having this very well balanced integration between their personal life and their professional life, and for certain career growth. That is what, we keep asking the people that have registered in our database. That is what they're looking for. Also, one of the things that we are telling companies is that we have to have more internship and apprenticeship opportunities. We see that many of the companies in the States, they offer these amazing internships, and once student graduates, they already have them basically hired. And we see that in Puerto Rico, we're still behind on that. There's very few companies that have very well established internship opportunities. And companies expect that the person is gonna start on day one knowing everything. And that's not like that, but if you train them the summer before and the summer before that, then once they start on day one in your company, they're gonna be able to add much more value. So that's another thing that we're seeing.
So Isabel, you agree that definitely compensation is one of the factors that makes us attractive employers. Culture. I want to go back to how we build that culture, but you added something which I'm balance of personal life, professional life. We call that in recruitment, we call it flexibility. And it's one of the first questions that we get asked when we talk to candidates, is it hybrid? Can I work hybrid? So it's not that, and it's not just work from home, it's the hybrid concept. Because when we go into culture, I would love, Tony, for you to talk to us a little bit about how does that hybrid or work from home idea work with culture? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. So when we talk about culture, it's a very hand wavy term, a lot of spare fingers there. But really, culture is the repetitive, everyday repeating small acts that are consistent to what we believe in, right? So at Adventures, there are we have various, but I'd say the three key ones that differentiate us here in Puerto Rico. The first one, be genuine. The Puerto Rican work environment, in my experience, still lacks, and that's where the opportunity lies in attracting talent. Creating environments where people can be their true self, have fun at the same time, not live to work, but work to live in certain ways where we're blending that personal and professional experience. The second one is we believe in people getting better every day. We are not afraid of failure. And that's a really important paradigm where myself being Latin and from Colombia, failure is frowned upon, right? If you fail and don't learn, that's failure. But if you allow people to take risks, to continue iterating and it's just one more rep on their journey and to reward that level of attitude and mentality, it's going to really create a win-win and a positive attitude for employees that they want to be a part of. And the last one is, I would say, that blending of professional and personal values. People don't simply show up to work because it's an employer. They want to live their values through that. So we have a huge emphasis on DEI, women empowerment, making sure we're as inclusive as we can be and representative of that in all the social impact and extracurricular activities that we do blend. Then we have a pretty robust curriculum, if you will, of engagement outside of work where people can invest their professional talent or their personal time as well.
So if I understand correctly, people want to live their values. So the culture cannot be something imposed. It's something that grows naturally or organically of an organization from the employees. Is that what you're telling us?
When we talk about people drinking the Kool-Aid, you can bring the cooler to them, but they're the ones that have to drink the Kool-Aid. So we have to create that environment where it's conducive to all these different factors. And you raised the question of hybrid and remote. It's a challenge. We are very intentional about our in-office interaction. We are not a fully remote company, nor will we ever be a fully remote company, because we do believe in the human interaction. We do believe in serendipity. We believe in black swans. When people get together and the conversation can go beyond that 30-minute Zoom call, that's actually when the magic happens. That's when that one comment goes and takes you down a rabbit hole, and that creativity can continue to thrive. That said, we're not in it to get people to be at their desk from 9 to 5 simply for the mere presence of having people in the office. We have to make it intentional, and that's when people start buying, and that's a culture. If they're in the office because it becomes meaningful, they will come to the office. We have, not to say people come for free snacks, but we have free snacks. If the office is not as comfortable as your living room, people will stay in their living room and will not want to come into the office. So we need to really create a dynamic environment that is conducive and pulse people instead of having it to be a push for more.
I totally agree. You build culture together. So being at the office is important. I go to the office every day. I enjoy it. A lot of our employees are hybrid, but we do see the need to be together, to build that culture together. So I understand the concept of building that culture. Employees wanting to live their values in the organization. So that's part of the engagement and the retention. So we talked about attraction, retention. Now, how do we blend that with bringing them back, comeback? Talking a little bit about what type of talent is coming back, or what do you see? What examples or good stories? I would tell you mine. I am a comeback result. I went to college in the mainland, stayed in the mainland for 10 years, and then came back because I wanted to. But I also needed the opportunity. And I had the opportunity thanks to Doral Bank and our client back then who said, come back, I'll get you a job. What do you see? What type of roles are we looking at that are coming back? And are there any success stories that perhaps we can learn from? And those of us, everybody here either is an employee or an employer. So what can we learn about that? How can we copy it?
So, we started the program as a pilot project. We're a small team. We're a nonprofit. And we started with the tech sector, which was the first group of, companies that approached us. And then we moved into fintech. And now we have some opportunities in biopharma. So there's a lot of people that have registered on the platform that we started with those three industries. Most of the need that we are seeing in companies that are actively hiring are software developers, data analysts, financial analysts, project managers. That's the biggest need that we're seeing. But we recently, literally last week, we signed a grant with the Economic Development Agency. So we're going to be able to really scale up this program. We have fundings for 2 years to do a multi-city roadshow, and we're going to be able to add other industries that are needing talent as well as construction. There's a big need for that. You know it too. And hopefully we're going to be able to, get more people to come back. There's going to be a lot of need in Puerto Rico for architects, for project managers, for engineers. But the reality is that at the end of the day, most of the people that want to come back, it's because of their family, it's because of their friends, because of the Puerto Rican culture, and because we really do have more work-life balance, I see, in Puerto Rico than in many other states. At the end of the day, it really boils down to that.
Well,
and they want to also support Puerto Rico, which is something that we've been seeing in we've been asking people, and a lot of them feel they want to be part of Puerto Rico's transformation. And they put that in when we ask them, and that feels good, that we have a generation of people that before, 10 years ago, when we started Comprometidos, we didn't necessarily have the job opportunities. But now, 10 years later, we do have the opportunities because there's companies like you here, because we have tech companies that are growing, because we have Rep Ventures, and the landscape has changed now.
I agree. The landscape has changed and has promoted new business in Puerto Rico. But Puerto Ricans, we're for small island. We're pretty famous. We have beauty pageant winners. We have great artists. That is talent. But when we go to professional talent, there's something that differentiates. Tony, you're a foreigner in an island, and from the presenters today, I think you're the second that came to Puerto Rico for love. What makes our culture so different? Or what differentiates us? Because anybody here could hire from anywhere. They could bring their engineers from California. They could hire them in Maya West. It's just as well. They come to work here. What differentiates Puerto Rican talent and makes it more attractive?
So first off, Puerto Rico certainly punches way above its weight in terms of music, culture, sports. For an island this size, Puerto Rico leaves a huge dent in pop culture. So I'm impressed even more every day with Puerto Rico. But in terms of the talent, and we had a really interesting, almost a controlled experiment, if you will, if you want to call it that, because we have people that are based in San Juan, working side by side with colleagues in the U.S., oftentimes on the same team, on the same group. And I can tell you that the Puerto Rican talent can perform right at par with our U.S. colleagues. And there are differentiators, and Puerto Rican talent, we often get requests to get people on their team for three different reasons. And I would say the first one, and one that we take for granted growing up in this environment, is what I would call cultural EQ. We are naturally bicultural. I put myself now in the Puerto Rico we are bilingual and can switch from one side to the other with tremendous fluidity, not only culturally, but from a language perspective. And it can't be discounted, especially if a company is looking at tapping Hispanic populations in the U.S. It's a tremendous boon. But more importantly, that adaptability, that mindset of being able to jump between one side and the other develops muscles that are unique to people that grow up in that kind of environment. The second one is hunger. We see a lot of passion. We see a lot of fire with our Puerto Rican colleagues. They understand what a good opportunity means. They bring passion. They are loud, but that is warmth. And oftentimes, it's really what defines a culture and what really mark the difference in teams. And that's why we got a lot of requests for Puerto Rican talent. But the last one, and probably the most important one, is what I would call resilience, right? It is the grit, the hustle, the determination. We've been talking a lot about Puerto Ricans growing up, and Latin Americans in general, growing up in a lot of chaos. Hurricanes have come by, earthquakes have been here, political instability have been in there. And you know what? You pick yourself up and you get to work and you do it again. There's a word, brega, and we just go and we bregamos. We get it done, and we get it done the way it has to be. And that resilience is really important. That strength. There's been a muscle that's been trained over the years because of the chaos. COVID comes by. You know what? We got hit by a hurricane 2 years ago. You know what? We just had an earthquake, and on top of a pandemic. So it's the Puerto Rican people are incredibly strong psychologically. The resilience. And if you set a goal, and we are setting for ourselves incredibly ambitious goals, and I know that the team that we have here is one that will bregar and will get it done.
I give it it's a great expression. Thank you for adopting our Puerto Rican word, bregar. So great. Our talent is bicultural. We can be American, we can be Latinos, just like this. We're bilingual. We speak Spanish, hablamos español, and we can jump back and forth. And it's not just speaking the languages. We think in both languages. I think we do. At least I do sometimes. We're passionate, not just in telenovelas, but the way we approach our work, the way we do. And it's a great example. Telenovelas are a great example of how passionate Latinos are and part of the culture that we bring to our work. And of course, resilience. We have lived in chaos. I know my children, since they were born, hurricanes, pandemics, another hurricane, earthquakes. So we learn to live with it. And chaos is normal. Chaos is part of life. So talent is amazing. Now, I'm sure there are many newcomers to the island here in Puerto Rico, and you're thinking, well, bringing back those Puerto Ricans from the mainland, that's a great idea. How can we get more of that here? Isabel, I know you've lived some cases, specific cases of companies that have organized to bring back that talent. Give us a couple of examples or how-tos so that our leader entrepreneurs that are here can adopt some of those ideas.
Yes, I mean, I think one of the biggest success stories, the company that has hired the most, they're really, they have invested in doing market research to compare what are the salaries that these people earn in their states. So then they can really offer competitive offers. And they've been the most successful. There's a lot of education needed, as he said. We shouldn't be sacrificing that much to come back, right? So there's still a lot of education that needs to be done with companies on the island, that they need to raise salaries, or they need to be more flexible, have a hybrid situation, or work on training. But I would say that the most successful companies have been able to really offer competitive packages. Yeah.
So business leaders, I'm going to open the floor. Any of you have had challenge hiring? Any comments that you want to talk about? Because I do want to learn a little bit. You mentioned a young lady that was a case study. I know Anna. Is Anna still here? Anna, you mentioned a case study, a particular case study about a young lady that came. We have clients that have college hire programs. They're great. I know that one of our sponsors, Popular, has a very effective one. We at BMA manage one that is a very similar copy of Johnson & Johnson's. But I'd like to learn if you can tell us. I could build one up from one of our stories. Love to hear about the ones from Comprometidos.
People that have come back, we have
or participated in programs that have allowed them to come back.
Yeah, certainly internships, that's a huge hook, to get them before, to have that experience. And Laura, do you want to add something? You're on the spot.
Anna, can somebody get?
We have people that have come from, California on LinkedIn, come here to work at local companies. They created a whole position for this person to implement all the technology in that Puerto Rican-based company. So, people say that, being in California, the real estate, it's expensive here, but it's way more expensive over there. So that's a person that definitely brought in a lot of know-how and expanded the company.
Just to add to that, we can hire them before they leave. Puerto Rico. So in our company, we have about half the people that come back from the U.S., and then we have half the team that's hired locally. And schools locally, we've seen fantastic hires. Mayagüez is a phenomenal school. We've seen tremendous technical talent in Rio Piedras as well, La UP. If we establish good programs with faculty, we are present, we're building a relationship, we can preview the talent in many ways, whether it be through a case competition, an open house, or whatnot. We can start getting to know the talent a lot better, and we can be very, very effective. And oftentimes, even the talent that may not be up to par, with a little bit of training, can go a very, very long way.
Yeah, I mentioned Fianelli. So yeah, we connected her to Red Ventures, and you made an offer even before she graduated from Mayagüez, and she started in August. Yeah, that was an example.
And when we look at college hire programs, Puerto Rico graduates, in Puerto Rico, we graduate about 50,000 college graduates every year. We have about 500 to 1,000 that go to the mainland to study every year, and many of them don't come back. Companies like Banco Popular, like Johnson & Johnson, like us, we have programs where we track them. We track their education and try to match them to companies in Puerto Rico that on their third year, because we always come home for the holiday. We all, especially for Christmas, but for summer, there's great opportunities for them to come back. So another way to bring that talent back is to create summer interest. I know we're going to talk about Fenella, Ana. You want to come up and tell us the story? Or please, somebody give her a microphone. She's going to tell us a case study specifically about a young lady that participated in one of these programs. Be a great example. I introduce Ana. Ana, please introduce yourself as part of Comprometidos. She helped. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Miranda, and I'm the program officer of the Comeback. I'm a comeback story myself. I went to college, Miami, for 10 years. And 4 years ago, I decided to come back. And all of my friends were like, "You're crazy, that it can happen. Worst timing." And I'm like, 10 years living in Miami, I had enough. I want to see my family, spend more time with my mother. And I jumped in. I worked at Burson Marsteller for 6 years, multinational company. It was a great experience. And that helped me to bring something back here in Puerto Rico and have the opportunity to help other people that want to do the same thing. So I come back, was a great platform and a great experience that Comprometidos gave me to actually engage with people like me that left for college and didn't know how to come back. Puerto Rico, LinkedIn, Monster, or Indeed, other platforms are not that well used as in the US. So we wanted to rethink how we can engage people to register and see in a different way how we can match their skill sets with the job opportunities here in Puerto Rico. And we started as a pilot project, as Isabel mentioned, and we've been able to bring people from Accenture, Chevron, WeWork, and other multinational companies from different states. California, we brought someone from Google that works in Puerto Rico supplies. But talking to these people, and they're like, "Ana, I want to come back because of mi abuelita, arroz habichuela. I'm like tired of Minnesota." And I'm like, "Okay, let me see how I can connect you." And it's been a great experience for us as well to learn how companies are hiring here. I mean, I think Red Ventures is a great example. A lot of my friends went through the Red Ventures process, and they were also living in New York. People working in Citibank or Goldman Sachs, they were like, "I'm tired of New York. I'm tired of a subway." And having my friends as well, I mean, I see Gustavo here. Gustavo is a comeback story in a way. He went to Miami. And we have a lot of friends that didn't know like how to make the move. But there's a certain age and something that it's Puerto Rico. I mean, you want to come back in a way. So it's been a great experience to have Fianelli work in Red Ventures. He didn't even know how to actually have that opportunity. We brought people from Texas to work at Rock Solid, Luis Arnella. He's like, "I want to leave. I want to marry my girlfriend in Puerto Rico, and I don't know how to make a move." And we actually connect him with Rock Solid, and he's one, like the Rock Solid, the first time they interview him, they call me. They're like, "Where do you get this guy? Where do you get this guy?" And I'm like, "And come back. Thank you. Thank you for being partners." And it's been an experience. And as Isabel mentioned, we got a grant a few weeks ago that's going to help us optimize the platform and be able to like scale it up to make sure that everyone that wants to come back has an opportunity or another tool to connect with jobs here.
Thank you so much. You wanted to add something, Isabel? I was going to do a little recap.
I wanted to give a shout out to Alberto Maco, which I'm seeing over there, because this is the version 2.0 of the original idea, Puerto Rico Global, and he was one of the people when he was secretary of the
You
department.
mentioned it, yes.
Oh, really? Well, he really helped us. He believed in this idea when we started many years ago.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm going to recap a little bit and hopefully open up for questions. If not, lunch. But when we talk about reversing the brain drain, we can say that it already started. The reverse is going on right now. The bleeding has stopped, and we're in recuperation mode. I think we're doing great. I think that we're very clear that the talent is amazing, is educated talent, is bicultural, is bilingual, is available. And it could be here in Puerto Rico. It could very well be in the mainland right now. So the talent is available. But we need to become attractive to that talent. And to be attractive, I think the best way to say it is what Tony said, no compromise. No compromise, because we have to be competitive. We can't expect Puerto Rico to be cheaper because our talent could work anywhere. We have to be competitive when it comes to compensation. We have to offer development, not just in Puerto Rico, but that's everywhere. Okay, our youth is asking, what is this organization going to do for me as well? Not just give me a job, but what are they going to teach me? What am I going to be able to learn? And we definitely have to build our culture. We can't build it just online. I think it's great. People have talked about technology earlier. I agree with many things, but I still believe that we have to get together every so often. So what can I do as an organization that is seeking talent and wishes to bring talent back from where there's great talent here? We want to bring back some. Of course, Comprometidos has a wonderful talent pool and is looking to participate with organizations that need that talent. We could visit Red Ventures career website. I was amazed. I visited it, and the offer that you make is a great offer to learn from and copy. Whatever they can copy, but it's a great offer. It's a great offer that makes you a very competitive. What you offer, you're offering culture, you're offering them exposure, you're offering them development, and that is what our young talent wants. And we can start by building college hire programs. If we don't have it, we can build it. So we can get these kids that are in third, fourth year of university, be they in Puerto Rico, be they in the mainland, and start working with them so that we can develop them into what our business needs. Business is evolving very quickly. Most colleges are not graduating exactly what we need. So we need to customize that. I know Red Ventures is doing great at doing that, but each one of our companies is responsible for farming our own talent. That was my closing. If you guys want to share any closing points, I'd love to.
I wanted to add that this year we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary, and because a lot of people come in Christmas, so because a lot of people come in Christmas, it's going to be the 21st of December. I would love for all of you who want to come and join. You can get the tickets at conpr.org. I'm plugging that in there. But it's going to be a great celebration of the impact we've had, not only through Comeback, but through our collaborative impact grants and grassroots organizations who are on the island. And it's going to be a fun networking event. So join us.
And just to close out, I would say it's a really golden opportunity the next 5-10 years that we have here in Puerto Rico, and we need to make it count. And by we, I mean everybody in this room. We have the post-COVID world that's broken the mold and enabled remote and enabled digital across the world, and that's something we can do directly from Puerto Rico. Second, the amount of federal support and federal aid that's coming into the island is going to provide, certainly the world right now is somewhat chaotic, but Puerto Rico can dampen that impact and frankly can actually prosper during the next 5 to 10 years. The question is not spending money, rather investing it in something that has an output and has an ROI. And the last point here is the incentives that we have on the table. And when I talk about don't compromise, because we shouldn't nickel and dime the most important input in our company, which is people. There's sufficient incentives out there for us to work with the government in securing some of these incentives, but talent is the last place we should look at in order to do that. But these acts that we have in front of us, these incentives that we have, DDIC is doing their job. They're setting the right pieces in the right place in order to enable us. Everybody in this room is here for a reason, and that alone is a phenomenal opportunity. I encourage you all to reach beyond the walls of Dorado. Go meet the very eager community that many of which came here yesterday. engage. They're looking for mentorship. They're looking for advice. They're looking for funding. And at the same time, it's a phenomenal opportunity. I can't think of a better place, frankly, to start a company than Puerto Rico at the moment.
Yeah, I do want to add that someone mentioned affordable housing, and we need more affordable housing if we want the young talent to come back. You know, we cannot expect a young professional to, you know, their first house to be $500,000. So we really do need way more houses that are affordable for the young talent.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Franco, quick question. First of all, thank you for hosting this panel. Isabel, I thank Comprometidos. And Tony, thank you for being here. I have a very specific question. You have been very successful recruiting for Red Ventures Puerto Rico. What has been the company's biggest challenge in that process?
I think it's adaptability. We are an organic initiative, if you will, right? In terms of it was a vision, one that took a significant bold bet in setting something up that we frankly didn't know whether it was going to work or not. And we've been very pleased with how it has been working, with how people have been wanting to come back, with how we've been able to upskill talent, with how we've been able to support businesses outside of Puerto Rico and launch businesses within Puerto Rico. So I think more than anything, we're emboldened and encouraged, because if there are doubts, we're here to dispel them because it can be done.
Thank you. Anyone? Well then, Ana, Isabel from Comprometido. Oh wait, we have one more question. Also, thank you.
So, a young professional move down here, need an environment them to support them. What are you guys doing about bringing home service providers, doctors, speech therapists for kids? All these services are so under capacity on the island. How do you plan to address this for the people that moving here?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Governor Pierluisi left a little bit ago. Joking.
It's a tough one. Thank you.
It's a great question. It's a systemic approach. The answer though is, if we do not start that and reverse that brain drain today, it's only going to get worse, right? We need to start somewhere. And part of bringing people back, part of engaging that systemic, the systemic components, a constellation, healthcare being one of the key pillars, and we should talk healthcare. I mean, that's a separate session. There's tremendous challenges there, but people, when they do move back, it is despite all of those challenges that we have ahead of ourselves, and not discounting those tribulations. But part of that effort has to be because we want to make a difference and we want to contribute to something better.
I think when you bring a substantial amount of people that want to see a transformation, they're also going to demand more from the government. And that's also going to start changing the conversation. But we do have a problem with doctors. I mean, that is a problem that we have with private insurance companies. And that's a whole nother conversation we can talk about. But we need to make some big changes for that to improve. We did work before, like 5 or 6 years ago, with trying to bring back doctors to the island. And one of the biggest problems we have is that insurance companies are not providing service providers numbers to doctors. So if you don't have a service provider number, you're not going to be able to get paid. And I'll leave it there.
They're called NPAs for a reason. And well, then in that case, Ana and Isabel from Comprometidos, thank you so very much. Tony from Red Ventures, thank you so very much. Enjoy your lunch.